After having dealt massive damage and liberated swaths of territory from the syndicalists, the 200 days of peace with Murray came to an end. While some argued that attacking him or continuing against the syndicalists would be the best with the threat of Pendergast's Missouri's Democratic Organization, it was however decided that we would take preemptive action against him in the form of a naval invasion. Before we could prepare it, however, we had to quickly deal with the 100,000 encircled syndicalist men, and also stabilize the front with Murray, but after that 15 of our best divisions had been freed up from fighting and sent to Washington to prepare. Under the command of MacArthur and the Navy already having established naval superiority, we launched the invasion towards New Orleans. At first it seemed to be unnoticed, but soon Pendergast's submarines intercepted us. This, however, was no problem and we managed to destroy 2 of them. But as we arrived to New Orleans, we weren't alone. They had prepared for our invasion and had heavily guarded both New Orleans and Biloxi. While we did land around the 2 cities and even managed to capture Baton Rouge, all our efforts were futile. We decided to retreat as many forces as we could, but 72,000 men were left there forever. And meanwhile, Pendergast's forces have managed to push further east and west, but we can't simply give in that easily. While we aren't crazy enough to try again, we have already started to replace our losses. But which military plan should we focus on this time? While the option to naval invade Florida was the most popular, it's too late. And while attacking Murray could be the easiest, since he's even losing against the syndicalists, if we defeat him now, that would leave us in a 2 against 1 situation. So, attacking the syndicalists it is. Luckily our forces, which have failed the naval invasion, are already ready to fight again. And it seems the syndicalists are tired, since they have tried unsuccessfully to take back Cleveland. So it didn't take long to break through and follow the train tracks towards Detroit and Chicago. At first, the front was pretty weak, but soon additional reinforcements started to arrive. Not quick enough to stop us from capturing Detroit, but they did slow us down to eventually completely stop us outside of Gary, 1 province away from cutting off the lower peninsula of Michigan from Chicago. After taking a pause and resupplying our forces, we could continue, because for some reason the syndicalists hadn't understood that throwing their men against us wouldn't help. So after a short fight, the goal of cutting off the lower peninsula was achieved and we could turn towards Gary, the gateway to Chicago once again. After a long and tedious fight, we eventually managed to capture the town, but was greeted by 10 divisions guarding Chicago. But after all these massive losses and with our forces slowly moving around the city, the syndicalist militias had had enough and surrendered. So the syndicalists have been defeated, but otherwise things aren't looking good. The Western Command Center is having massive trouble and Pendergast is almost in Atlanta. Murray's defeat is inevitable, so instead of trying to save him by attacking Pendergast from Wisconsin, we will take the opportunity to capture valuable land from Murray. So let us crush one more traitor. We have done it. While Atlanta never came into our hands and Nashville neither, we have managed to force Murray to capitulate. This means only the Missouri Democratic Organization and the Pacific States are left to crush. While Pendergast has been the biggest threat, we might actually have surpassed him in strength, since we have put more of our factories on guns and artillery, and with MacArthur's incredible talent to recruit people, we have managed to deploy 48 new divisions. So our choices of offensives against Pendergast are many. The first, while we dealt with Murray, Pendergast managed to capture Chicago from us. So we will attack here with the goal of recapturing the city and continuing. While supply up here in the north is scarce, that might mean less defenses, as they probably won't expect a full-scale attack here. The second, we will go straight for Kansas City, their capital, even though defenses are already numerous and we would have to cross the Mississippi and maybe the Missouri River. If we succeed, the morale of their forces would collapse, and from there we would have the opportunity to split his rebellion in two if we reach Dodge City. The third, we will continue south from Nashville, where we have most of our forces. While they hurry to move their divisions to the east, we would be able to cut them off completely if we manage to reach the Gulf of Mexico and New Orleans. But this would be where we meet the most of their forces, since many of them are already around Atlanta, having fought Murray. The fourth, while MacArthur plans to move into the Free Territory in the east, despite what you choose, in this option we won't stop as their troops arrive. This would allow us to fight against an enemy which hasn't had time to entrench themselves, and if everything goes successfully, we could end up reaching New Orleans and Florida. So which plan should we follow? To vote, head to my community post or click on the link on the top right corner. To not miss the next episode, which will hopefully be released in 2 days, please subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and go make your vote count.